Should we do a little introduction? So Kamil, you guys already met. Tomasz is one of my favorites and regular in these panels from Mastercard.
Hello,
we have Piotr, and we also have Maciej from Zen. So welcome, guys.
Hello.
Great. Now, good. You got that photo? Okay. You talked a lot about the difference. Tomasz, I'm actually going to start with you. You have an overall view of what Mastercard is doing in order to change the face for SME. And being a large player all over the globe, but especially in Europe, what have you seen in these blurry of lines? Set the context here for our discussion.
So first and foremost, I would say that blurring the boundaries between issuing and acquiring is not a innovation as such. Yeah. So I would need to debunk a kind of myth here. It's a phenomenon which existed for some time already in the past. The biggest acquirers all over the world, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Barclays, etc. They both issue cards and they also offer acceptance for merchants. Polish market was a little bit different, yeah, because even though we have a couple of institutions which were trying to combine both, but some of them withdrew, and currently we have rather monoliners. Yeah, so we have acquirers and we have issuers that sometimes cooperate. But indeed, what I see in last couple of years is the growing number of, in particular, banks that started think to start again the acquiring business too, but mostly focus on e-commerce. Yeah, so ING could be an example, mBank, plus probably a couple of other players.
Piotr, what is mBank looking at blurring the lines of services? We heard from SumUp, just the extent in which they're trying to provide value. We're talking about small to medium-sized merchants here. We're talking about people that don't have the sophistication to actually sometimes, just add fintech to their services. What has mBank been doing in this space?
I would refer to SME business because we are the biggest bank in SME in Poland. We've got 500,000 SMEs. And we believe in ecosystem which is actually the one-stop shop idea. When we embrace non-banking services around banking and connect them seamlessly, smoothly, to bring new value like automatization, semi or fully, generally everything is connected. And of course, this, for example, we've got some partnership about accountant services. And there is automatic reconciliation with the transaction history, invoices, and accountancy. And another is payment gateway. And this idea, this is interesting. This idea will be challenged in next years by those who have clients and software.
Correct.
Especially the good, we are inspired with Square. There's a good and brilliant example how they trying to embrace banking into their services to provide their ecosystem for merchants. And for example, so you've got the software with the payments, with accepting payments, of course, accepting payments, but then current account to see what's your movements on your account in one view, real time. Then you've got loan, merchant loan, with automatic repayment loan connected with your turnover, etc., etc. So you've got like saving folders when you save money for taxes. You need to pay next month, etc., etc. So
basic stuff that SMEs struggled with, and I think all of us can relate.
But served in one view, single sign-on, automated. This brings new value.
And that's a bit of what, right, Maciej, that Zen is looking at. Just the name in itself, I'm pretty sure at some point it was Zen non-bank, and now it's like just Zen.
Zero effort non-bank.
Aha, there we go. I wasn't too far off on my tagline. How have you changed your value proposition from mBank, or how are you looking at this? I think we all heard, when APIs became a thing, even though they had been around since the 80s, if you know anything about tech. we talked about integration, we talked about seamlessly, we talked about being zen when you're thinking about banking. The average small SME business probably thinks of tax and all these things and want to pull their hairs out. And in this economic crisis, they're looking for credit. They're looking for cash availability to grow their business. How are you seeing that change, and how are you looking at that from a product stack perspective?
Yes, we want to provide the Zen to the businesses and for the individual customers, as our name states. So Zen is a financial institution that is both issuer and the acquirer. So from the beginning, our goal was to build the ecosystem that connects buyers with sellers.
Okay.
So
one of the largest business models to build. You know, chicken and egg situation when you're trying to grow.
It's quite ambitious project, I would say. Yeah.
Nonetheless.
So to make it happen, we offer various of financial services, such as multi-currency account, multiple money transfers, top-ups, currency exchange, and of course cards, Zen Mastercards, loaded with benefits. So on the one hand, we offer those cards to the businesses and individual users. On the other hand, we are giving the payment gateway for e-commerce, and we acting as an acquirer. So what are the benefits of being both? Of course, when we have such closed ecosystem, we have more control over overall payment processes, which affects the lower fees. So we can offer competitive fees to our clients. Of course, there is a better client experience because we have consistent branding. We are when there is a closed ecosystem, we are also better in managing the risk, handling an error, which affect better conversion rate, better authorization rate. But at the end, it's still not common that after you process the payment, you still need to wait few days for the settlement, then you need to pay out the money you have. So it's very important to have a instant settlement for businesses, from SME especially, to use this money right away, to restock, to pay your partners. So, and here Zen comes to the place. So imagine that you are a business, you are processing the payments, those payments land on your multi-currency account, and you have a card attached to it, and you can use that money right away without necessity to pay this money to some external services or bank. So this is why I think having ecosystem and having a partner that is both acquirer and issuer is very important and beneficial for both sides, the businesses and the financial institution.
And I think that that's a bit of what you've seen, Kamil, right, in Brazil as well. I know that for a fact in SumUp, and the instant payment connected to Pix immediately, and it can actually fund people's account. And this is transformational. What are some of the challenges, or actually some of the stuff that's been really hard? Because when picking this, you guys can't possibly build all the features that an SME needs. That's just kind of crazy. So you're going towards a marketplace or a connection. How does SumUp looking at that ecosystem? You talked to us about the different portions of it for the end user, but what are your tech partners, or how are you really trying to do this?
No, actually we were looking in a very similar way as we talking about here, because we also coming from financial industry, right? We also coming from the same spot. What is good, really big value, because when we process the transaction for the merchants, we learn the history of the merchant, right? So what we started to do...
You have the lovely data that everybody wants.
Yeah, what we started to really learn very quickly is how our merchant behave. So we are not only going for the market. To your point, when you put a Brazil on a spot, it's very common on the market that you have cash advances, right? Or 30 days payment terms, plus you have 12 installments. So it starts to be really complicated there. So we obviously go for the market, but also what we're trying on the same side, how we can do that by ourselves. So how we can build the risk models internally, so we can start covering from our end, and instead of, sharing the money with the business partners outside and financing that externally, we can do that internally through our just knowing the merchant, because we have tons of data. And I think that's what every company right now have in their hands. You have tons of data. The question is, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to leverage that to support your merchant, and what's the price. And especially we talking about SME, I was coming from the nano merchant, which are even more, let's say, delicate in terms of the pricing, in terms of struggling day to day, to your point, struggling with the suppliers' payments and all that stuff. They even want that more. So the cash advances is a product that is like behind, right, the whole ecosystem that we are talking about, and what I was showing in the closing the loop. This is important part as well. But I'll provoke that saying, okay, what is beyond, right? What we would like to offer beyond. So how we would like to enrich the merchant experience with giving him a business account, how that business account can be connected to his supplier chain, and how that supplier chain can be connected to the loyalty system, and even beyond, giving him much, much more. And usually also SMEs has own employees, which is another advanced step of attracting them as a client, etc.
Yeah. Another layer of payroll that most banks kind of like royally failed when you look historically at most of this. What is beyond, Tomasz? Like when you hear all this, you see the market. You see a lot of these guys trying to do this, and needless to say, the Mastercard's sitting in a little bit of data as well. So.
Yeah, even though, as mentioned at the beginning, I wouldn't call it a trend. Yeah, it's rather a phenomenon, probably addressing certain needs in certain niche. Which probably will evolve, but I wouldn't expect that it's going to dominate the market at least in the near future. Nevertheless, one of the things which could somehow facilitate the development of this type of products is soft POS. So the innovation which we also have a pleasure to support somehow, which effectively turns your mobile device into a tool to pay, and a tool to accept payments at the same time. Yeah? So if we are talking about addressing needs of SME in particular, yeah, that perfectly fits into this type of.
Tomasz, but still you need to have a separate printer to print a receipt for a client according to Polish law. So.
Still, I agree, yeah, but. We are also talking about digitizing receipts and so on and so on.
I'm challenging law system.
Plus in certain cases, we somehow managed to circumvent it already. Let it be all and pay when there is no paper version of the document. Yeah, and as a next step of evolution for this type of product, so soft POS, I could even imagine going into the consumer segment, facilitating P2P payments or cost splitting, etc. is more and more popular, and this is actually perfect use case, where two people sit next to each other, they both take the mobile from out of the pocket, one pays, another one accepts the payments with using this simple device.
But I actually like that provocation, because two takeoffs that I have from my, let's say, experience, what I was talking about, is, okay, you can build a beautiful ecosystem, but second is how your regulatory environment is going to impact you. And we have very recent example with Revolut, right? Trying to get from 2 years a license in the UK, which exactly answers what you addressed. It's okay, I can have beautiful concept, ecosystem, and everything put it together, but am I willing to go through the regulatory struggles? And actually many startups doesn't realize that.
Maciek, you look like your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's very hard to to be in line with all the regulation if you want to be innovative. Many times let's say regulators are not in line with those innovation. But I want to refer to what is the beyond, the standard features. So for us, building the ecosystem is to attract sellers to the merchant, and through those merchants attract the users to our ecosystem. So right now we are preparing solution that I hope it will be launched this year. So we want to incentivize.
Is this a drum roll? It'll be launched this year?
Maybe.
No, okay.
We will see. Yeah, but we're aiming to
we'll
launch
hold
it.
You accountable.
Launch it this year. So basically, we want to incentivize users, the card holders of Zen, to make a purchase in the merchant e-commerces they can have additional incentives such as cashback, such as additional protection. And on the other hand, we want to offer to those users, to our user base, merchant offers. So a merchant can prepare special deals, special discount, and get additional audience and additional marketing exposure to our ecosystem. So thanks to that, we can build such a yin-yang perpetuum motion that number of sellers will attract more users, and more users will attract more sellers. And this is where we are aiming for.
Piotr, is it the same for you? Because one of the things I struggled that we chatted about before prepping for this panel here is like, who is the brand to the end of the consumer? Is it that you're here to just facilitate and enable every small merchant to feel like they're a bank on themselves, or are you just trying so they can extend? Because when I hear these things like loyalty, now they're going to buy in my marketplace, I often go like, guys, we're trying to tell the regulators it's okay, and there's like a line of trust. How far? How far is too far?
You know, technology changes our world, so banks need to work harder to still deliver, to still deliver, to make client satisfied. So new models are going to challenge banking's model, as we see your presentation about closing the loop. This is something against banking. You know, because we are going to lose some touch points with client. We are really fight on, but still, will not going to make a step back.
No setbacks, Kamil.
There's one bubble that wasn't on the presentation, which is a partnership, right? And I think this is where we speak and we talk about it, and this is where we also can close the loop together. Because I was talking about all those things but I wasn't naming, okay, we do it by ourselves. But many of those things, if we don't know how to do it, we'll go for the partnership. And we're going for the partnership constantly with different financial institutions.
Our example is, as I mentioned, on the one hand, we have built the payment gateway because, okay, this is very close to banking, but we are not accountants, you know? So we had partnership with one company and bring it together to bring new value to the clients.
Partnership, Tomasz. Parting thoughts on SME partnerships. And
yes, exactly. Because it's clear that certain companies will follow that route to offer combined services, i.e. issuing and acquiring. Even though there are limited synergies from the operational standpoint, because you require different set of capabilities, regulatory license, and so on and so on. So the question for me, what is the most optimal for those players who want to have this type of ecosystem? Whether they really need to go to offer themselves issuing and acquiring, or rather go as Stripe, as Square, as SumUp, and so on, or rather to go through partnerships. So issuer partnering with acquire to offer combined value proposition under the single umbrella.
Any thoughts on that you guys want to leave this beautiful audience with?
I think it's good to sum up this part that you can build everything on your own. The financial world is very huge, and the values of all financial services.
It's good for all the product managers and the CEOs listening, right? Like, you cannot build everything on your own.
Are almost unlimited. So it's very important to went into cooperation, to cooperate with different entities, because sometimes it is more efficient. So I think it's very important. Of course, every fintech and every startup, of course, cooperate with banks, I think that's a good point.
Piotr?
I'm also impressed with one case, which is really showing how new businesses are growing. This is company Toast, and this is software to serve restaurants. And it's and just briefly, it also can be a starting point to expanding, to embrace banking services, payment services, and be in the center of client. And everybody, we need to be in the center of client.
And everybody wants to build its own ecosystem. Yeah? So the world will be populated by the ecosystem orchestrators.
And then maybe we'll enter the metaverse to find which ecosystem we belong to, shouldn't we? With that, guys, please give these wonderful gentlemen a warm welcome of applause. Thank you for sharing your perspectives.